Hey, you remember that bizarre and uncalled for impeachment inquiry that Republicans opened into President Joe Biden? Good times. It's imploding really fast. Well, in the midst of the entire speakership battle, it was easy to forget about Republicans' impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. And yesterday I was thinking to myself, whatever happened to the good old bombshells that we're going to expose about Joe Biden in this impeachment inquiry? And they kept saying things like, Biden's a criminal. We don't have the evidence yet, but we're going to find it in this inquiry. Then they held that first hearing, total disaster. And then we haven't really heard about plans for a second one since. And then I came across reporting from the Washington Post that clarifies why that is. The leader of the investigation, James Comer, said, quote, "I don't know that I want to hold any more hearings, to be honest with you." Yeah, I'm sure you don't, James. We'll get to why he says he doesn't want to hold a second impeachment inquiry hearing in just a moment. But first, here is Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz's response on X. And for our podcast listeners, I'll describe. It's a photoshopped image of James Comer with a shirt that says, "I've given up" on it. And then Jared Moskowitz captioned that by saying, well, unlike his supervisor, Donald Trump, at least James Comer knows when he's lost. And Jared Moskowitz was responding to reporting saying that James Comer was derided by even his own allies after that first hearing because of how badly it went for Republicans. And then the quote that I just read you of James Comer saying, "Yeah, I don't want to do any more of those." The Washington Post article continues, he complained that it was hard to keep members present for hours on end, given that so many had other commitments. Instead, he said he preferred depositions, which, quote, "you can do more with." I don't think anyone's ever accused James Comer of being the sharpest tool in the refrigerator, but he's definitely not, because there he just admits to the whole game. You can do more with these closed door depositions that you can more easily manipulate. The Washington Post article continues saying there's a truth buried in that. Of course, you can do more with cherry-picked transcripts when your goal is to coat Joe Biden with insinuations and unproven allegations. Had Devin Archer's deposition been a hearing, for example, the final result would have been that viewers saw him acknowledge that Biden was not involved in his son's work. There would have been multiple Democrats on hand to evaluate Archer's testimony critically, something that does Comer, and by extension, Speaker of the House Johnson, no good. In 2019, the witnesses talking about Trump's impeachment were generally deposed before offering live testimony with cross-examination from Republicans. Comer appears to prefer stripping out that last bit. And that's exactly the case. By the way, this reporting was coming at the subject from the perspective of Mike Johnson as the new Speaker of the House. How are things going to adjust, and how are they going to reassess now that he's in this position? And while Republicans are maintaining, oh yeah, we're charging forward, this is as serious as it's ever been in terms of the Biden probe, it does seem like Johnson's afraid of having another public failure as the beginning of his speakership, and thus Comer is afraid to cause that with another one of these public hearings. And the Washington Post excerpt I just read you sums it up. When they hold these closed door depositions, they can manipulate the narrative way more easily. Select the one little out of context response, create a story out of it while ignoring everything else. But when it's out in the open with these public hearings, the American people can absorb the information themselves as a whole. And when you absorb the last hearing as a whole, you didn't walk away thinking any wrongdoing on the part of Joe Biden had been brought forward. Now, I'm talking a lot about the first hearing. Let me remind you of some of what went on there, because a lot has happened, obviously, since then with all the speakership drama. So this was, as the context, this was their big moment, right? They've been investigating Biden every which way for months on end, years, if you count everything, since Giuliani's expeditions under Trump, desperately trying to find something to make Trump look less corrupt by comparison. And then it gets to the point where it's like, if you don't have any proof of Biden's wrongdoing now, you probably aren't going to get it. So what do Republicans say in response? Let's launch an impeachment inquiry and we'll find the evidence there. Now, as a reminder, they're going as far as saying Biden was bribed without evidence, a big charge you would really want to have evidence for if you were walking around saying that. But they justify it by saying that Hunter Biden's business dealings were financially benefiting Joe Biden, again, without the evidence to prove it, and that they're just seconds away from finding that big bombshell bribe. So then it builds, they're all excited. The first hearing's coming up, and one of their key witnesses, their own witnesses, says, I don't think there's impeachable offenses here.
In fact, I do not believe that the current evidence would support articles of impeachment.
The funny thing is, most Republicans agree with Jonathan Turley in what he said there. There aren't impeachable offenses on the table right now. And that's why they say they need the impeachment inquiry, which to me is strange logic. I feel like you would have the impeachable offense, and then the inquiry is where you build the case that you're going to present for the impeachment. Make the case more strong, but not try to find the thing you're going to impeach them over. But now they've established they need new evidence to justify impeaching Biden. So then what are they going to do when they don't find any? My expectation is they'll just try to impeach him anyways. But we all heard them say we need new evidence to justify an impeachment. But then we didn't find any, and now we're still justifying the impeachment. We'll see. Then from the same hearing, you have Jamie Raskin highlighting, this is priceless, a bunch of quotes from Republicans calling out the absurdity of their own party charade. Take a look.
And you think I'm being harsh? Here's what some Republicans have had to say over the last week about the actions of the Republicans as they watch up close, quote, the dysfunction caucus at work, in the words of our GOP colleague from Nebraska, Don Bacon. Clown show, foolishness, terribly misguided, stupidity, failure to lead, lunatics, disgraceful, new low, pathetic, enabling Chairman Xi, people that have serious issues. Those folks don't have a plan, show just how broken they are, and individuals that just want to burn the whole place down. Now, if I said any of these things, they'd probably take my words down, but these are Republicans talking about Republicans. So let's be clear, this isn't partisan warfare America's seeing today. It is chaotic infighting between Republicans and Republicans. It's MAGA versus extreme MAGA, as if anybody in the real world could tell the difference between the two. What a staggering failure of leadership.
So again, the American people don't get to see all of this when you have closed door depositions. That's why James Comer now is desperately trying to put an end to the humiliations like that. But then my favorite part from the first hearing was Jared Moskowitz, actually at multiple moments, but in this one, explaining what this entire impeachment nonsense is really about for Republicans.
I'll show you. It's a simple board, right? So all other presidents in the United States, 50% of the impeachments. Donald Trump, the other 50. Donald Trump has half of the impeachments in American history. But you know what? He's got 100% of the indictments. 100% of all indictments. 0 for the other presidents. Listen, let me do it another way. I want to channel my inner Tim Russert. So let me go to the board, right? And I don't have Florida. But Donald Trump, impeachments. Oh, how many impeachments? We got 2 there. How many indictments? We got 4. How many for Biden? 0. Donald Trump is right. He's sick of winning. He's just winning, running away with it. And that's why we're here. We're here because of math. That's what this is about. They can't save Donald Trump. They can't take away the 2 impeachments and the 4 indictments, but they can try to put some numbers on the board for Joe Biden. But the problem is when you sling mud, you got to have mud. And they just don't have anything, Mr. Chairman. So look, we get it. We know why we're here. That's why they say the Biden family, the Bidens, James Biden, Joe Biden's dog, Commander, but not Joe Biden. Never Joe Biden. So when are you going to have the vote on impeachment, Mr. Chairman? What are you scared of? Call the vote. Come on. If you all think there's so much evidence, we're here. Call the vote on impeachment. Impeach him right now. I dare you.
And that's, of course, exactly the case. If they can just muddy the waters a little bit, just make Trump and Biden look a little bit more similar, corruption-wise, then they can help Trump win in 2024. They don't actually have to prove anything, but just the conflict of Biden having an impeachment inquiry into him and all these allegations by Republicans, it can confuse and blur the lines for a lot of voters. Well, there's a lot going on both sides. Biden's being accused of this, Trump's being accused of this, even though it's not even close to the same, shouldn't even be included in the same conversation. But that's the goal for Republicans. And just to top all this off with a little bit of CNN reporting, quote, when you're at bat, you get more than one swing, Van Drew said at the first hearing. I don't know, this is good. I don't know that every hearing is going to show what we want. Maybe none of them. And then another quote, they think the hearing was a dumpster fire, one Democratic lawmaker who spoke to Republicans shared with CNN. A dumpster fire, indeed. And we don't even have time to get into all the crazy moments from that hearing, one of them being AOC, as we went over somewhat recently, again, catching Byron Donalds dishonestly presenting evidence and excluding the very context that destroyed the point he was trying to make with the out of context thing he was showing. Right in the doc, he was showing this little part. If he had just shown the part right above it, it destroyed what he was saying. But reminding myself of these moments makes pretty clear why James Comer really doesn't want to put Republicans through that once again. So I guess they're going to try to keep moving forward as if they have something. It's a serious affair and we're really concerned about what Biden's been up to. But we all know, and they all know, it's a show. Before you go, don't forget to become a member at lukebeasleyshow.com/membership to get access to a daily bonus show, an entire bonus show Monday through Friday exclusively for our members. Plus, follow me on Threads at Luke Beasley Official, Instagram at Luke Beasley Official, Twitter or X at Luke P. Beasley, and sign up for the Beasley Brief, a daily morning newsletter summarizing the previous day's events by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/brief. And also, by the way, if you want to contact the show, you have something to say, lukebeasleyshow.com/contact. You can submit a form and I will check it out. I'll see you all next time.